So talking about today, it's kind of a two-part series. So we'll have it's a two-part kind of video, and it's kind of on two ends of the spectrum. So this first one is going to be, what do you do when your player feels like quitting? And that's a big one. And then next week, we're going to talk about, what do you want to do if your player wants to take the next step and wants is showing that they really want to get to that next level. So the kind of two sides of a coin when it comes to kind of player development and what they can do. But hopefully you can be able to check out next week's video, and I can kind of talk about that. But first, we want to say, what do you do when your player has lost motivation or is feeling like they want to quit? And I think the biggest thing is helping them to understand what it is that they are trying to do. What is their goal? What is their motivation? Why do they want to play soccer, or why don't they want to play soccer? And a lot of times it comes down to, it's not fun anymore. And sometimes they may just leave it at that. And sometimes, if depending on your guys' relationship, they'll be able to give you a little bit more. And oftentimes it's something that their coaches have done. Maybe it's some of the players that they're with. Sometimes it may be even you. And so I'm going to go into those three different scenarios, and what I think you can do if your player is letting you know, hey, I'm not into soccer anymore. If it comes down to a coach, if it's a coach, if the coaches kind of suck the fun, I know I've been guilty of saying, well, the coach isn't making this fun anymore, and I don't want to play it anymore. He's taken my love for the game away. I remember saying that to my older brother. And I remember saying that to my brother and him saying, hey, you know what? No coach can change your love or for your passion for the game. But a coach can kind of take away what your goals are, or kind of tried to put a damper on what your cap is. I was talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and I just asked him what was his new soccer journey. And he said, it's kind of a late bloomer. And they kind of told me, the coaches kind of pretty much told me that what my cap was going to be, or what my ceiling was going to be. And he was in one of these pro academy setups. And so I think, from what I understood from what he said, unconsciously kind of accepted their bias about and their belief about them. And so, I could see that for other youth soccer players, even who aren't in necessarily a pro academy or a setup like that, them pretty much saying that, you know what, this coach is constantly on me every day. He's not telling me what I can really do to get better. He's just constantly saying how much I stink and how I'm awful and I'm not good enough. Why put myself through this? Unconsciously, they start kind of to believe that. And that may force your player to come back to you and say, hey, I'm not having fun with soccer anymore. So what can you do to help your player if they face that situation? I would say help them to uncover what it is. If it's this situation, help them say, well, do you still enjoy soccer? Is this situation with your coach the reason why you don't want to play soccer anymore? And if it is, then maybe, I'm not telling you that they need to leave. If it's a toxic situation and the coach really is just being demoralizing and abusive, then yeah, I think it may be time to try to find another place. But if it's one of these things where maybe the coach is trying to use that to motivate you, and they want to see that fire, and they're just using this sort of negative motivational tactic to try to see if they can light a fire under your player, then maybe you talk to your player about how going and talking to your coach and to their coach, and seeing how they can be able to really be able to build that relationship back up, and figure out how they can figure out a way to be able to make it work. Because sometimes you're not going to be able to leave, especially if it's a setup that you really want to be in, and coach really, their intentions aren't trying to really tear you down, but they're just trying to figure out a way to light the fire underneath your player. So what I would say to you as a parent is, help them to uncover okay, if this is something that you really want to continue to keep fighting for, then let's go figure out a way that we can talk to the coach and figure out a way that we can make this work. If it's one of these things where it's not salvageable, but you still want to continue playing, then let's go and find another avenue, another place that's not going to be toxic and really kind of tear you down. So that's what would be if it's a scenario one. So if it's scenario one, that's what I would do. That's how I would approach it. If it's, they've lost motivation because of a coach who is kind of negative in their words. Number two, if it's teammates is always a hard one, right? Sometimes I've been on teams that we haven't shared the same goals and we haven't shared the same passion for the game, or even more, I've had teammates in the past who just thought I wasn't as good as I was, and therefore they thought they could treat me in a certain way. And so in the past, when I was younger, I would kind of draw within myself and kind of just not do what I needed to do. As I got older, as I got more experience in the game, I realized that no matter what your teammates may say, or rather what that they do, it doesn't really affect the work that you put in. So if your player is just around teammates that may be cliquey, or if your player is around teammates that are just negative, or even they don't really want to work, how they respond is on them. I know I feel like I quote her every single podcast, but I remember reading from Carly Boyd's book, and I'm gonna I don't want to paraphrase or quote it, but I do remember a passage where essentially she kind of just removed herself from all the drama that the team was going through with the U.S. women's national team. And she was like, listen, I don't really care about all the drama. I'm here to play. I'm here to work. I'm here to compete. I'm here to win for the United States. And I love that. And I know that rubs some people the wrong way. I know some people are like, well, she's trying to be able to really get along with your teammates. And I agree. I think it's way more fun and way more of an enjoyable experience when you get along with teammates and you get along with those who you're training with. There's nothing more fun. I mean, quick tangent. I feel like every ex-pro athlete, what they say they miss the most is the car rides, the bus rides, the locker room talk, the relationships with teammates, feeling like you're part of something bigger than themselves. And that is so true. It really makes the experience way more enjoyable when you're part of a team and you feel like, man, this is awesome. And it really is. It makes it way more enjoyable when you can get along with your teammates. But man, it's one of these things where now you're like, if you can't get along with your teammates and you can't really lead this situation, then what are you doing? How are you improving? You can always improve. You can always try to get better. You can always make the most, no matter what other people are saying. And again, if it comes time to club next year, maybe you go and you try to find another club that kind of fits your values or teammates that you can kind of fit. But what hazard as a parent is allowing your player to quit because of the team that he or she is on. Allow them to kind of be able to grow through this situation and kind of be able to figure out, okay, what can I do in this situation here, even though I may not like the people who I'm with. Because again, I'm sure as a parent, you have people who you work with that you don't always necessarily get along with, that they don't necessarily like you or don't treat you fair. How do you move past that? How do you move forward? And then finally, scenario three. Scenario three, I would say, is the toughest one for parents, because who wants to be the reason that your child is quitting sports or quitting soccer? But a lot of times that happens. And I think it happens because of sometimes in our own athletic journeys, speaking of parents, we feel like we weren't pushed enough, or we didn't have the same resources that we're trying to give to our kids. And we're trying to put that on them to say, you can do this, play better. I'll never forget going to watch a game with a player. I'm going to watch it play a game. And the parents sat next to me. And what they would say is like, be better, do better. Like, come on. And I don't know if the player heard them or not. I don't know if the player necessarily responded to that. But it was one of these things where the player could. I don't think that really helps. The player yelling, do better, play better. Come on. And you could see the frustration in the mom and the dad's voice. So I would say if your player is feeling the pressure from you and they can sense that your relationship is based around how they do in the sport, it's going to be very difficult for them to continue to keep playing because it gets to a point where there's just so much pressure and they're just like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this. So I would say if it is one of the things, if you get to the heart of it, if you're ever to have a conversation about this with your player and it's like, hey, is it me? Take that as an opportunity to really do a self-check and say, am I the reason that my player is losing passion for this game? And let them know that you're willing to make a change if you really are willing to make a change and really kind of divorce their soccer journey from your own athletic past. So hopefully, if you're able to have it, those are the three most common reasons I think players end up quitting the sport. These are the three most common scenarios. Obviously, it can be something totally different. And your player may just have lost the passion or maybe they're done. And that's okay. But I think helping them discuss it, having an open dialogue with them, it would be so beneficial. And if you can get down to those three things, be able to hopefully get them to a point where they're moving forward. Let me know if you agree.